안녕하세요, 여러분. Rin입니다. And I am here to give you an update about the coronavirus in Korea. So, yes, as you probably know, the coronavirus is over in China, but there are also, well, as of yesterday, I didn't look today, there were 24 cases now in Korea. But the good news is that there were 2 people released, and the first person who was from Wuhan, the area where the virus started, the first person who brought it to Korea will be released, actually. It's supposed to be released in a few days because their health has improved. So that is positives. So as long as other people aren't dying in the other countries like US, Philippines, Thailand, Taiwan, all those other countries, Japan, you know, these other Asian countries, and USA, because it is in the USA, you know, as long as they're not dying there, you know, that's good hope for us. And yeah, I'm just hoping that this virus doesn't spread too much more, because this is very sad. But the guy who first alerted about the virus has passed away, and he was only 34 years old. That's only 3 years older than me. So I'm just like, holy smokes. Like, everyone's like, I thought they said, you know, it's only supposed to be elderly and children, people with, you know, bad immune systems, whatever. And I'm just like, guys, you know, viruses can be stronger in other people than others. It doesn't have to be about your, well, of course, health background plays an important role in it. You know, your immune system's not great, or if you have some other, you know, medical history. I don't know if a lot of people are saying that his death was a conspiracy theory. You know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I will say that it's very unfortunate, very sad. You know, I pray for his family and friends, because that is very unfortunate. He had a lot of life to live left. And as a medical professional, you know, he could, you know, he could have gone and done many more amazing things if he was the one who caught the virus. Like, you know, those people. And then there was a young man who actually died from overworking. I believe it said he worked like 10 days straight, and then he finally went to go rest, and he just, his coworkers found him dead. And it's very, very sad. And he was younger. He was like 24, 26, something like that. So there's a lot of other factors going into the deaths, you know. And we have to also remember that in Asian countries, that a lot of these people are overworked. They work way more hours than we would ever work in the US, because we have those laws in place. Korea has done a good job, actually. They've changed a lot of their laws to lessen the work stress and to, you know, put pressure on the large companies to give their employees, you know, less hours. Of course, there are still those companies who, you know, try to skirt past the rules, which sucks. And that's why Korea has a large suicide rate. You know, it's very hard for them to go through life constantly working these long hours, no real social life, you know, and then all they do is go home and try to take care of their families. It can be very mundane and very unfulfilling. And it's hard in a society like this to tell people, you know, oh, you know, if you're unhappy, go to a different job, because there aren't very many jobs for Koreans. Like, they have a lot of people in the job market right now who are looking for jobs, and, you know, the best ones are not available, you know, because those people stay there a long time since they need the work. My friends have been really fortunate and very blessed to where, like, I have friends who work in Hyundai. I have a friend who works for the National Health Insurance Company. I have a friend who works for Kia. So I have friends who are in, you know, pretty darn good positions. Then I have other friends who are like, oh, I just work construction because that's all I could do. Or, you know, or I'm just doing Alba, like part-time jobs. Because that's all I can find right now. And I don't think there's anything wrong with any of that. As long as you're able to survive and, you know, you're living a healthy life and you're not overworking yourself and, you know, feeling extremely stressed and worn out every day, then I think whatever you do is fine. So the coronavirus, so a lot of schools have shut down due to it. And there have been like, there was a case of a student in one of my friend's second school. So thankfully not her main school. So that school was closed down. And then a lot of schools in Seoul have closed down. A lot of them are not starting until towards the end of February now. The private schools that have been in session and stuff. So they're not in session right now. and there's been like more in other areas. So anywhere they found a patient with the virus, they've pretty much shut down those schools. So there was actually found in Sinchon area. Sinchon is close to Hongdae, which Hongdae is the big like party district. Sinchon is an area where there are schools. So Yonsei-dae is in Sinchon. Iwa-dae is close to Sinchon. That's the next exit. But there was a person with the virus that was in an apartment complex. So they shut down all the schools in that area. And I think it's really hard for parents, you know, because if that was my area and they're like, oh, you know, oh, Lily's daycare shut down. But if I still had to go to work, you know, or the people who don't even work in that town and may work out of town, they may not have another option, you know, for their child to go somewhere. They may have to try to find a babysitter or someone else to watch their child in another city just so that they can work. You know, or maybe take them to parents, grandparents, which can also still be troublesome because, you know, you're like, well, their parents or grandparents may not really want to take them because they're like, well, if the virus was in your town, why should we take it and possibly contract it? You know, you know, it's pretty crazy because I've heard stories of like people's families not even saying like, don't even come visit me. Your town is one that's infected. We love you, but we love you from over there. And I mean, it does make sense. And, you know, my dad was asking me because we're going to be flying out of Korea on February 28th to head to the States. And a lot of people were like, oh, you may not be able to get back in Korea. And I'm just like, why would I be able to get back in Korea? Like Korea and the US have a relatively small number of cases. Thankfully in Korea, no deaths have been announced. So that's a plus. They are checking people at the borders. They did change their rules like 3 days ago to where foreigners now all foreigners have to now be checked in at a special checkpoint. It cannot, like usually we can go through like the foreigner entryway, which is by the Korean side if you have an ARC card, alien registration card, meaning you live in Korea and work in Korea, but no more. So now everyone has to go to that foreigners only line, which is like, dang it, because that increases wait time. So now I have to remember that. But the great thing is, you know, I drive. So when we come back to Korea, I'm leaving my car at the airport so that I'll just be able to drive. So it doesn't really matter too much for us because usually people have to wait and get on a bus to go to where they're going. So, you know, I would say I would be willing to take people with us, but actually I wouldn't because I want to be precautionary, you know, take precautions still into March into April when we return to where, you know, I'm not put in a situation where we could possibly be infected by someone else. You know, we're going to still be wearing our masks when we come back just because airplanes are already really dirty, unsanitary, lots of recycled air, you know, and we've been blessed to where we've never gotten sick. You know, coming off a plane flight, you know, whatever. I've been extremely exhausted, but never sick, not really, no real jet lag, just traveling pain. Like, you know, my body feels a little stiff. I have to get up and stretch a lot on airplanes. But yeah, so that's what's going on here in Korea. Many people are wearing masks. You do not see masks everywhere. In my town, you really don't see masks as much as you would in like Seoul, because in our area we don't have any affected people. They did think there was a kid who was infected at Yonsei, and that child was transferred to Chuncheon, which is about an hour and a half. Well, Yonsei Severance Hospital, not Yonsei University, and they transferred them to Chuncheon, which is about an hour and a half from our city. And it turned out the child did not have the virus, thank goodness, because their family had been a lot of places. Because also in Korea, they also celebrate the New Year. So we had a 4-day weekend that weekend. A lot of people went to Japan, a lot of people went to Taiwan, everywhere, China, everywhere. So it's just like, oh my goodness, like just really bad timing. And the worst part is the alerts for this virus weren't even like really bad until the following week. So I had students for 2 days, and then we had the 4-day weekend, and then they came back. And it's like, so what? But before that, we were on our winter vacation. So it was winter vacation. So people traveled. Then they came back to our school 2 days, and then 4-day weekend, and people traveled, and then they came back. And it's like, oh, virus. I'm like, dang, we would already be infected because we didn't get the alerts soon enough. Whatever. But anyways, guys, I hope you're staying safe, healthy, and happy. Until next time, annyeong. Hey guys, you thought the video was over, right? No. As you know, if you saw my live video last night, this morning, you know, I was going to put up my coronavirus video, but I got new information today. So I was just like, let me just add this at the end. Well, one of my friends said that their university, she works in Seoul, is now pushing their classes 2 weeks into March. So they're going to start later. I'm not sure about my school here. It seems like a lot of schools are going that route just to push classes later, just as a kind of preventative measure. Yeah, so that... I mean, it's not great for some of my friends because some of my friends are actually still not working right now. And so, thankfully though, by law, they have to be paid like 70% of their salary, which still stinks though. Like you losing 20% of your salary for things that you can't even control. So, you know, my hope is that this virus hurries up and gets gone. Out of here. I know today the WHO said that they were, you know, really concerned because now there's over 1,000 deaths. That's what I just saw today on the news, as well as Korea is now warning strongly against going to other countries. I'll put the little image here because I can't remember all of them, but they do include Taiwan and Japan. And a lot of my friends are supposed to be traveling to Japan soon. So now they're like, dang, because they're saying to self-quarantine when you return. And that could also change depending on the numbers and everything in those countries to, you know, being actually quarantined. I'm very thankful that the US is not on that list right now. I'm hoping that the US won't be on that list in the next month so that I can, so that we can safely return from the US to Korea. Of course, if there's a ton of cases in Korea, we can always postpone our return date until later. You know, since we'll be staying with family. But I just wanted to add this to the video and yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, annyeong!